Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to DCUO Online. I am, of course, Trex, and today we're going to be talking about quote-unquote all things power. So I'm just going to do basically as detailed as possible, talking about power and honestly all the questions that I found on the forums and talking to people on streams and everything. So first off, what is power? Well, power is this magical blue bar here underneath our health. There's a better, clearer picture of it. Power is what is needed to perform abilities from our tray. Who uses it? Everybody. All people use power. Every single focus, from super powered to hybrid to weapons expert. We all use power to a certain degree. Now, we'll actually talk about each individual one in a little bit, but first we have to ask, where do we get power? Simple. We get power from our gear. We get power from our gear, it's right there in the stats. We also get power from our mods, we get power from our League Hall proficiencies, and we also get power when you spec into the stat Might and Power. Now most of the people that spec into Might and Power will be the super powered focus, which we'll get into in a little bit. But this is where we get all of our power from. The number one place we'll get them will be from your gear, and then it goes into your mods, which include your equipment mods that go right there into alongside your affinity bonus, and then you also get it from your generator mods, and then your legal proficiencies, and then again the might and power stat. You also get power. Well, don't really think there's actually a soda buff that actually gives you more power, but it does give you power regen though. So thank you, soda colas. So now the question is, how do we regen power? Well, soda colas are one way to go. That's honestly the best way. You also get power regen from your supply drops as well if you have your base amenities. The other place you get them is your first thing we're talking about is the passive power regeneration. So every player, no matter what your spec is, whatever your focus is, doesn't matter. Every single player has a passive power regeneration. The passive power regeneration works off a percentage of your max power pool. So there's a percentage that I get every second that will refill me my 10 based off of my 10,000 power here. What those numbers actually are, I do not know. I'm pretty sure someone smarter in math than me will be able to figure it out, but so far, during all of Stats Revamp, either we have not focused on finding the answer to that, or it was just impossible to do at the time. Hopefully one of these days, we'll actually be able to get that information. So that's your passive power regeneration. So that's the default. That's for everybody. Now let's switch gears and go a little bit into specialization with it. So I'm actually going to go into my superpower mod, or my superpower mode, I should say. Hopefully it's actually was the right one. And it was not. Silly me. How about number 2? Yes, that's better. So for our superpowered focus. Superpowered focus is increases our power by 10%, but it also increases the power regeneration by 25%. So that that percentage that you get per second is increased by 25%, and it feels good. Is superpower being the spiritual successor of advanced mechanics, it works out really well. And as a superpowered, we rely on our power pool. We really heavily rely on it because the more power that we have in our power pool allows us to perform more abilities in our loadout in rotations. So superpower gives us 10% extra might, gives us more power regeneration, but we also have to spec ourselves into might and power to, again, increase our power pool. As an example, at CR 190, wherein CR 190, having my combat rate in CR 190, my power pool was increased from my hybrid that I was just in by 4. I got an extra 4,000 power thanks to the spec. So that is the power regeneration in superpowered. Now I want to switch it over. Let's go back to hybrid, and let's look at for the hybrid. So for hybrid, in hybrid and also in weapons expert as well, they have weapon attacks restore a percentage of your power. This is for hybrid and it's for weapons experts. We're going to cover both of them at the same time, okay? The focuses, as you can see down below, do not really give a bonus to power. It doesn't give a bonus to power regeneration. We are basically sitting there at our passive power regeneration as our default. But weapons expert changes that a bit because of how weapons expert is and how it's played. You don't really do anything based off your power pool, and your power regeneration is decreased by 25% because you're getting your power back from your weapons. Now, your power regeneration from your weapon attacks is a combination of two things. One, it is a percentage of your max power pool. Okay, so the more power you get from your weapons is determined by your max power pool. So even though your power regeneration in weapons expert is lowered, in hybrid you can still increase your power pool a little more, as well as in weapons expert. The more power you have in your power pool, the more you're going to get back in power regeneration from your combos. Now what this also means is for weapon combos, the other side of it, power regeneration and how much you get is also based off of the animation time for your loadout. As an example here is I'm just going to unload everything on my hybrid here. My power regeneration now is coming from simple weapon attacks from hybrid, from the shooting stars. Now I'm doing longer combos. I can do a lunge. You can see the animation time is getting, the longer my attack combos are going because the animation's going, the more I get back into power. So keep that in mind. So again, the weapon regeneration is a twofold. It's based off of the animation time of your combo, how long it takes to finish it, and it's added by the percentage based off of your max power pool. So there's two folds there. You cannot really change the animation time of a weapon combo. You can clip it, but you're going to lose that little bit of power there. Like if I just come up here, and actually unload everything. So I can just do, so you can see I'm trying to do my lunge, but my lunge is not hitting properly. So if I clip it here, so I clipped it there and I was actually able to get it. Maybe some weapons do it, some don't. I did see a little variance in that. So that is it for your weapon combos. For when especially when it comes to your superpowered focus, when you're looking at your increased power regeneration, you can see your blue bar just refill as it goes. It's much faster than what we've seen before. It's much faster than your normal power regeneration because you have that plus 25% coming up. Now, in superpowered focus, you do not gain power regen from weapon attacks. That is only available to hybrid and only available to weapons expert. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how can we increase this passive power regeneration? How can we increase the weapon regen? Well, I just told you all the things that are possible. You cannot, and I repeat, critical power chance, critical power magnitude, and vitalization do not affect power regeneration from weapon combos or your passive power regeneration. Vitalization and the two power crits only affect controllers. That only affects controllers' power out, their passive power over time, and their instant power dumps. Those three stats are only valuable and viable to controllers. Those stats do not work for power regen whatsoever. So please keep that in mind. If you're not a controller, you're really not needing to spec yourself into vitalization or the power crits. That is none for you. So let's switch it now and talk a little bit about power costs, because this is something that you're going to really need to understand when you're building your loadouts. So we now visually see all the power cost for abilities, and it's great because we can use that to our advantage so we can try and build ourselves a proper loadout. Your power cost with your loadouts will either make or break your groups. If you are completely over the top and you use all the 300 abilities, you're really going to screw yourself over. And with the power cost, you see that there's two numbers. One is the 300. That 300 represents the base power cost for an ability. So it's 300. If I was wearing nothing, it should basically be power cost of 300. The number in parentheses is the power cost of the ability at your combat rating. So the more you get better gear, as you're getting gear with higher item level, as your combat rating is increasing, that power cost will increase gradually with it. There's no way to really decrease power cost unless you have one of the new mods coming from time capsules. I think there should be some of those mods out there. But that's what the number in parentheses is. When you're looking at your loadout and wanting to figure out how much a power cost is, you look at the number in the parentheses. That will tell you how much it's costing you at your combat rating. And right now on live server, when it comes especially to all the in-game folks, a lot of players are seeing you cannot have no more than 2 300 base power cost abilities in your loadout. If you have a third, you're really struggling with your power cost consumption, and you're really putting a stress on the controller as well. So you have to be conscious, you have to be actively aware of how much power your loadout is actually costing, so you're not a burden on your group. Super powered, you would think that we would be okay with it, and we kind of are, but also remember that if we get low of power, we are kind of screwed because we cannot gain power back from weapons. We are having to wait till our passive power regeneration comes back up, and we're also having to wait for the controller to feed us power to keep going. So you always need to make sure to stay aware of it. Hybrid and hybrid especially is able to regen with weapon attacks, so it helps out greatly. When you're looking at weapons expert can regen power with their weapons, and that's a good thing. It's what they're there for. They don't actually use their loadout a lot, and which hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit video of that of weapons expert in a separate video. So the layout here is pretty simple for me. I'm just keeping it really tight with a 200, 300, 150, 100, 200, and supercharge. Now, let me also explain this for combo users out there. As a Rage player, especially during the testing phases, I was giving, as Rage players, we were given the power costs for Rage combos. Sadly enough, Hard Light, Celestial, and Atomic don't really have those down numbers, and hopefully we'll be able to see that from the developers one of these days. But for Rage, I can at least tell you guys this. When you look at your combos on your ability tray, the power cost is a bit of a lie. And let me explain. The power cost you see here is only for the ability on the tray. So Frenzy costs 150. Revenge costs 100. Outrage costs 200. What you actually need to look at is, for us combo players, our actual combos cost power now. This is a new thing. So the power cost for Frenzy might say 150, but if you plan on using the actual combos, then your power cost is not 150. It's actually much higher. The power cost for Frenzy combos is, if I remember correctly, it should be, I want to say it was 25 and 25 each. But again, that's also going off of memory. Let me double check with my handy calculator. So I want to make sure I get that right. So it's 25 times 6, 150. Yeah, I'm right. So each combo for Frenzy is 25 power base. It's 25 base power. And that equals out to Frenzy totaling a 300 base power cost. Revenge's power cost is 100. Revenge spin is actually 50, so Revenge actually costs 150. Outrage. Outrage is a base power cost of 200. When you look at Outrage for a second time and then Extra Measure, those two combos are 125 power each, making Outrage a 450 base power cost. And luckily the damage is actually based off that. Damage for an ability comes off of their power cost. So the higher the power cost, the more damage it does. Which, that's how it goes hand in hand in the revamp. So for all you combo players out there, I have the numbers for Rage. I don't have the numbers for Celestial and Hardlight, sadly, because it's not in their notes when they did it, and Mojo was nice enough to provide that information for us, for the Rage players. But yeah, so we have the cost here for Rage. It is different. Outrage being it needs to be changed, of course, in the description. It actually shows the proper power cost for all the combos, but that's where you need to keep an eye out. Combos cost power. That's what happens. So that's really all I had for power. That's all the information I got. I know it's not a lot of in-action stuff. It was switching out some screens here and there, but this is why I wanted to make sure I get to you guys as much as possible. So be careful with your loadout DPS, because especially supercharged, super powered folks, we don't need to be overspending our power. We understand DPS, damage, boom boom, we get it. But we're having to do these fights for a long time, and if you're not able to manage your power properly, you're a burden on the controller, and the controller can't get power to the right person who really needs it. So please keep that in mind. And especially for Weapons Expert as well, again, you guys don't really use a lot of abilities because you don't use your power bar, because you're doing weapon combos all the time. Your abilities and your loadout are kind of utility. But I'll go more into detail about the Weapon Expert video, Weapons Expert stuff, in a separate video, so I hope you guys get to see that. If you guys have any questions about power or the review or the overview or anything, please leave a comment in the section below. And thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and also hit the subscribe button to watch more videos when they come around. And if you want to throw a little extra support, head over to my Patreon page. And now, just watch a little bit more from the other playlist videos right below.